Ladies, I have been working with um, um, on my series Thrive in 2025. I'm working on this myself, so I thought I would share it with people that follow me in social media. And it is like a series of questions. So when it comes to the end of the year, it's not like, oh, so what do I want in 2025? And it's a really thought-provoking questions, not for judgment, not for ridicule, not for anything. It's just questions. So, have you ever thought about what would life look like the way you want it? Like, do you ever dream of where you would live and how much money you would have and what your clothes would look like? Have you ever had that type of, I don't even want to call it a fantasy, and I don't even want to call it a dream. I want to call it, have you ever had that thought process of just, this is the life I want to have?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And it's constant. I actually ask myself those questions a lot and have asked that question of myself throughout my life. And it's interesting how I think those questions have subconsciously shaped choices that I have made and subconsciously created things in my life um, as a result of asking those things.
And I have not until the last couple years, because to be very honest, we do transparency here. I felt what I wanted, I wasn't worthy of.
Mm.
So I needed to work through some of those self-worth issues. And we've always had conversations on here. We've always been honest that with with mindsets and worthiness and loving yourself and all of that, it's a constant, it's not a battle. It's just a constant um, reminder. You have to constantly be working at it. It's no different than everything else you do and think about it. Your groceries, your gas bill, your car filled with gas or whatever. So I have worked through to where I have some really cool, like now I get excited when I,
Oh,
We
we
lost her.
lost her.
Here she comes.
Let's see if she comes back. Oh, we lost you for a bit.
I know, and I was like, this is so good. I have full, it shows strong internet. I don't know what's going on. So,
Hmm.
Do you want to try again?
and when I was looking because to see if I had a place to plug in, like because my work computer is wired
Hmm.
and I don't have a place to plug in on this computer.
Well, do you want to try to say what you
But
said just now again?
fine.
Because I could just cut that out. Like I cut, like I could say, ooh, and then put you in. So,
Right. So I never would dream or think about having those thoughts because I never felt worthy of them. I never felt worthy of being somebody in the house I always wanted to be. And here's a bit of tidbit. I told you I've just started like in the past couple of years having those types of thoughts and what would my life look like and how would it be? So the home you see us in now, we have sold and we're moving to another one 2 miles down the road. And when I walked in the house, I was kind of struck with, holy crap. Because if I was to draw you the kitchen of my dreams, I just walked into it.
Oh,
So
awesome.
in the dream is this kitchen, and it's not a chef's kitchen, it's an open kitchen. It has the pull-out drawers in the pantry. It has granite countertops. It has It has a glass door where I can put all my pretty pictures and plates and stuff. It has a drawer where you can put your pots and pans. You don't have to crawl underneath the things. Like it was, and I walked out of there with this um overwhelming feeling of, huh, what you think about, you can really like I know it, I've felt it, but when I released and began to say yes, yes to allowing yourself to have those thoughts. And as you said, Tracy, I think in another episode or before, that you have asked yourself these questions and they have helped you make decisions within your life. It was like I walked out and was like, huh, okay. So yeah, it's a newer process for me.
It's interesting because for me, I've always struggled with self-worth, but it never stopped me from asking the question, which is interesting. But like I can remember and sometimes the question would be asked to me, and I would then know I can even ask the question, right? Like I can remember my dad asking me at one point when I was like, I don't know, like 10, like where do you want to live, Charlie? If you could live anywhere, where would it be? And of course, my world was like really tiny at that point. Like the thought of living abroad or anywhere else was like just out the window. But I always wanted to live in the area that I'm living in right now because we would pass this on the way to go to our cottage, and I would always sit there and think, "Oh, this would be the place. This would be
Hmm.
the place."
Hmm.
And I mean, I had the thought, had the question, had the conversation, and, never really thought of it until, like you, it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm actually living where I said I wanted to live when I was 10 years old. Like, how
Yep.
crazy is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm just like I said to my partner, I said to him, by the way, you have no control in this kitchen. I already have every part of our kitchen filled. He's like, yeah, but I'm like, you have your drawers, you'll have your cabinets. I'm just telling you right now. Don't you dare put one thing away in this kitchen. He's like, okay, all right. Like, unbelievable.
What
It's
about
just,
you, Tracy?
What's the actual question? Because I think I say it slightly different in my head.
I think just the actual question is do you ever allow yourself the ability to think about if I could conjure anything up, if I could live my life in any way, shape, or form, what would that look like? I
Yeah,
mean, sometimes you can sit there and go, I'm going to go through the whole picture of where I'm going to live, what car I'm going to drive,
yeah.
what clothes I'm wearing. Or it could be like, I'm going to ask, what if I could drive any car in the world, what would I drive?
mhm,
What would be my dream car?
Yeah, I think in my 30s was when it happened. And I asked it slightly different. It was, how am I going to get the life that I
Oh,
want? How am I going to get? Because in
love
my
it.
30s, I had a bit of a wake-up call with my job, and they treated me like really crappy. So in my 30s, went, Mom, should I go back to school? Like, I'm so old. Back in the day, it was. And that's when I realized I have to ask, I have to look to see what I want in order to know how to get it. Like, what do you want? So for me, I feel I'm pretty set, except relationships. I never saw family dynamics because my family we were all close, all that stuff. And that's the one part I never looked at. I looked at money, success, kids, all that. I didn't look at family dynamics. And that's the one place for me that I wish I had kind of paid more attention to. But like I told you, like I wanted to work at home when my kids were born, and I did it before people did that
Right.
type of thing, all
Right.
of that stuff. We lived in the Caribbean for a while. We've done what we wanted to do, but the biggest one for me now, and I'm going to start addressing that, could use some help there, is dealing with family dynamics. And
Mm.
that would make my life much more complete, is knowing those loose ends. And like I said, never asked, never even thought to ask about that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. Yeah, that is just, what a great process. How do I get this?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
my mom.
Yeah.
That's from my mom.
I like that.
Yeah. Because the moment your brain will actually go out and give you or search for the answer to whatever question you pose yourself, which is why it is so critically important that you ask better questions. Instead of why can't I not do, or
Yeah.
why can't I have, or what's the matter with me, that instead of all of those kind of questions, because your brain will go out and give you the answers to those, to ask, how do I get this?
Mm.
How do I become?
Right. Right.
That's amazing. Amazing.
It is. It is. I think it's I think sometimes our last episode, we were talking about emotional intelligence and how we don't teach our children. Like we use the example like, oh, I'm nervous. Oh, don't be nervous. You know, we're already telling them not to have that emotion. I think we don't teach this to our children,
No.
meaning a child will come in and say, Ma, I'm going to be an astronaut one day. We're like, okay, yeah, sure. We don't on a steady place like encourage that. We know. I think because we look at it, well, this week they're astronaut, next week they're going to be a cowboy or whatever it is. But I think when it comes to, um, and I'm going to call it dreaming the life you want, even when you get into high schools and the schools, I know for myself, it was always you went to see your guidance counselor, what college you want to go to, like all these things that we don't, I don't think we allow people to dream the way we used to. I think. And Tracy, gee, you brought it up a couple episodes ago, something like we have this social media and we have like, you do these three things and you're going to lose all this weight, or you do this one thing and your business is going to take off, and you do this. Like there's always this instant gratification. And when it doesn't happen, like we think that's where we have to go. When you just talked about when it was you were in your 30s and you had your kids, or and staying at home was not a thing, working from home, but yet you went ahead and did it. I don't know if we encourage that as much nowadays.
Well, I also think that goes back to, which I think is the best thing you can let kids do, is the daydreaming of just
Mhm.
allowing your brain to go. And it might be, like you said, an astronaut, 3,000 things in your head. And
Yeah,
then now I'm not going to dream it because I see it on social media and I see that I'm not that person. So how could I?
right,
I'm not that.
right.
So why would I even dream it? So I'm not even going to think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
right.
point, Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just even the guidance thing, right? Like you could go, I remember sitting with my guidance teacher and like saying I wanted to go to, university. And they were like, well, your grades were never, you'll never get into university. Your grades just aren't good enough.
Thanks for the
Like,
Right,
support.
like talk about squash the
right,
whole, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's out. Now what
right.
do we dream, right? So
It was so funny. I had the exact same thing, but yeah, I ended up with 2 degrees later in life. And maybe just at that point, college was not the thing for me, but it wasn't that college wasn't the thing for me. It was my maturity at 18 when I got out of high school.
Yeah.
It wasn't that college wasn't for me.
And for Tracy, why wasn't it like, hey, if you want to go to university, this is the things we need to do to get you in there, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Like
Or even,
why not show the
e-
pathway to
yeah,
do that? And instead of going, well, that's never going to happen. Like,
huh,
get rid of
right.
that pipe dream, girl.
Yep. Like, why? Why do you want to go to university? Why is that a passion for you? Like, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because, you might have thought I had to go. That was my next step. Okay. And then they tell you no. But instead of if that person had more of a conversation with you, why do you want to go to university? Why is this career? What about like all these things? One of two things. One, you might have been fired up and say, okay, this is what I have to do. Or it might have been like, oh, no, really my father's dream, not my dream. Like, yeah, I don't think there is that. I think even ourselves with our own, I know with our own children, I think if I was to ever sit down with my boys and I asked them that question in the past, I would have been like, what? Where did that come from? Where now I'll be like, that's pretty cool. It's no judgment. I have no clue if they'll be able to do that, but that's not for me to judge. I'm not the one who wants it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
It didn't
you
matter. It
know?
still fired me up. I walked out of the guidance counselor going, F you, I'm going to university.
That's the Tracy we know.
Yes, that is the Tracy we know.
And I
Do
did
you
go to
think,
university.
but do you think people ask themselves this?
No,
I
I
don't think
don't
enough.
know if they do. And I don't know if it's like, it may be a fleeting thing. I
Right,
think it needs to be more of a conscious thing. I think we need to give ourselves the permission to go, you know what? I just want to think about how to, if I really want it, and is it possible for me to fill in the blank,
right.
live in this neighborhood, have this kind of house, drive this kind of car, wear this kind of clothes, have this kind of job, have these kinds of relationships. I think if we allow ourselves to ask ourselves those questions, it's going to open up a whole bunch of stuff for us. It doesn't matter how, you don't need to know the answer of, well, how am I actually going to do that?
Mhm.
What's the step? It's about allowing that vision, that dream to be a part of you, then you will figure it out.
Yep,
Mhm.
yes, yes. So, viewer, have you ever asked yourself that question? We're challenging you too. We'd love to see in the comments what you come up with. We'd love to know if you've ever done that or have not done that. And if not, why? If you found this episode resonates with you, please hit the like button. If you think someone needs to hear this, share it and make sure you hit notifications so you know when the next one will come out. Until next time.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.